Alright guys, it's Scrappy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. OpTic streamed another 2 sector scrims last night. Some big results going into the weekend, especially their Scar Hardpoint continues to be a dominant map mode combination for them. Yes, they lost their crazy win streak, but effectively they are 20 of their last 21 or something on this map mode. And what does that mean for the weekend? Will it be banned whoever they play? They've got some big games, including the Thieves. We're going to talk about that in the coming minutes. Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you are new as always. Jersey Jerry, absolutely on smoke. Let's talk about this though. The most rookies to start that we have had in the CDL era. Now, of course, a fair bit of that is inspired by Cloud9 going absolute poverty. But nonetheless, Craze and Lurks in the league encourage Hyde, Nejra, Okis on Cloud9. Now, Mamba started the season with G2. Nium is now in for the Thieves. Trakes for Heretics, Kips for Toronto. And then Abe, of course, who did play briefly at the World Cup last year, but proper rookie season this time. And then Legend, who was here for a couple of weeks. But it is pretty interesting to see 12 rookies. Is this inspired by Mercules? Of course, it will be to some degree. Are some of these teams trying to find the next Mercules? Look, I think Mamba and Craze, after what they did at the end of last season, were more known quantities, but known quantities in the sense that they would be reasonably quality players when brought in. They've been a bit inconsistent. Time will tell how their seasons go. Trakes has arguably been the most promising of this combination over recent weeks. I do rate Lurks quite highly. Whenever I watch his POV, I think he's definitely got it. So, yes, he's on an interesting roster. We're going to talk about the Ravens in the coming minutes as well and what they could do going forwards. Whether any of those Cloud9 boys have a future, that's a good question. Probably a little bit too early to say. But who's going to be Rookie of the Year? I think that's the key question looking at this. Because last year, Mercules was Rookie of the Year. Obviously, he had to be. He went back-to-back at the World Championship and the World Cup. But he only joined the league in Major 4. I played Major 3, played Major 4 qualifiers, the Major with OpTic and all that. So he was only in halfway through the season. This time, we will have more players joining, I'm sure, before the end of the season who will be rookies. So it's possible the Rookie of the Year isn't here yet, but more than likely he is. And it's more than likely a player on one of the better teams because they just tend to turn heads. Abe has not been good this season. But even if he was, he's on Surge. Lurks, as I say, I think he's pretty promising, but he's on Ravens, and I don't know how they're going to do when they get back to LAN, right? So the heads would probably turn towards maybe Trakes on Heretics, because there's potential for that squad to do well as they did last year. Mamba it also applies to, and then certainly Nium and Kips. Look, if Kips can help turn around Toronto, that is a big statement in his favour, and he's looked pretty good on that role to start. Just quickly on Cloud9. Because they're paying absolute poverty money. They're probably buzzing that they're not going to qualify for Birmingham. They won't even have to go. They don't have to pay the money to get over there. I don't know if that was part of their strategy. Ben J says, look, don't feel bad for anyone. They chose to do this. Again, do I feel bad maybe for the coach being put into this position to be like, well, yeah, we had some budget at the start of the year. Now we have half of that. You've now got to try and convince some players to play for you. That's not an ideal spot for Ariane, but also for the players. Look, they took the money and it's understandable, but also if they get slammed, it is what it is. It's just a tough one because I don't have any like ill will towards the players. Like I wish them the best, but it's like people are preying on Cloud9's downfall as an organization for fair reason at the moment. Speaking of some of the players that were even in that combo to join, Swooty. Now, there's been a bit of drama here, right? Because Swooty is on the FaZe Falcons, effectively Zuma's kind of Stallions interim situation. But they were meant to have PaulX on their team before he sketched just a couple of hours before the roster lock. So it was a couple of the Saudi boys and PaulX and Swooty. That was the team before. Strange team, but whatever. It's FaZe Falcons. That's what they were trying to make work. So PaulX sketches and they bring in King of Body instead. So now there's 3 Saudi players and Swooty. That is the current roster. Now look, the Falcons boys, I mean, first of all, they have the FaZe Falcons as a Challengers roster. They have Falcons Academy Green, they have Falcons Academy White, and they have the ReeaL Falcons in the Pro League. So they are running a lot of teams right now, and they are treating their boys very well. Swooty's landed in Texas, and he's going to be here with the FaZe Falcons, with the, I don't know, Falcons facility or whatever, for the next month leading up to the major. So yeah, that's that's the plan. We'll see how well it works with this team, but there's just been lots of talk about their comms. As CDC Intel says, Josh, this is through no lack of trying on anyone's behalf, but these FaZe Falcons comms are really rough. It's been a screwed situation because the late roster change, especially for Swooty. I'm not sure if it might be easier for the team if the other three just speak Arabic. This is the issue, right? Because you've now got 3 Saudi guys and Swooty, and it's like, well, their comms are pretty terrible, so what do you do? Like, would it genuinely be better to be like, all right, Swoot, you know, hit the Duolingo, buddy, and see if we can figure out some... I mean, that would just be a nightmare, right? But again, is that a better solution? I think if you do that, you're limiting your ceiling as a roster, but maybe you're raising your floor to some degree if you just let the Saudi guys speak Arabic and Swooty is just along for the ride. I don't know. But as I say, they've got a month until Birmingham, so hopefully they've got enough time to figure it out. With PaulX, obviously it's pretty clear that, you know, we speak English, you figure it out from there. In this case, it's now changed a little bit. So I don't know if they need like as Radiation says, some sort of AI real-time transcript translator or something to get to Swooty's headset. That is technology worth looking into. Let's talk about some of the scrims though. Of course, we've seen in recent days various clips. Dashy frying, Huke frying. Probably the key names on OpTic right now, because there's no doubt about Mercules. There's no doubt about Shotzzy when we get to LAN, right? Like, I think online, we were talking about it the other day, the consistency of some of these top players and why being consistent is a very valuable trait. Certainly when it comes to players like Scrappy, you kind of know what you're going to get, which is not a bad thing as far as I'm concerned. And Shotzzy's performances online are inconsistent. I don't think anyone's going to really deny that, and the numbers imply that as well. But on LAN, Shotzzy is actually, given his role, pretty damn consistent and consistently very good, right? Now, that is not always true online, but I think you can trust Shotzzy based on what we've seen over the last few seasons and the success that he's had to deliver when it matters on LAN. He did so at Major 1. I'm sure that he's going to do so later in the season as well. Merc is undeniable. So the question then is on the other two, because Huke Search and Destroy has not been good so far this season, but in scrims that we have seen, thanks to OpTic for actually streaming them, I'm not sure why other teams don't do more of this, right? OpTic are basically the best team of the game. 1-2, right, with Paris. We saw that at the first major. They're always going to be a force. They have no issues streaming their practice a month before the upcoming major tournament when we are in the midst of online qualifiers, right? No other team really wants to do it. And apparently Cloud9, they were interested, but their coach told them, no, we can't. Or I don't want you to, or something. So, again, it's the whole, oh, we give it away strats or something. And I do get it. Like, if I was a player, if I'm streaming, there is a level of... It takes away a little bit of your focus. Even if you don't care that the stream's on, you're not reading chat or anything, you know that people are watching that POV, so you might be inclined to, you know, let's say you start off map 4 in 16, it's probably going to be in your head just that little bit. Back in the day, they used to stream everything. Like when the OpTic Dynasty was streaming their scrims, we would hear everything. If they were annoyed about a play that they made, if they were discussing their ideas on a certain break, it would all just be live. Nowadays, though, the game's changed. They're hiding the mini-maps and they're muting comms. So we don't, like, that issue no longer exists. I still think it could be a small distraction for the players, like, you know, and also it's a bandwidth issue potentially. So if the players aren't in a facility or something and they're streaming, then are they going to increase their ping in the scrim and it's going to make it a slightly worse quality thing? You know, there are reasons why streaming practice isn't done, and it's not like it's done in other sports or esports, so we cannot precisely demand it, but it's just confusing that OpTic are always the team that are on this, and the other teams that you would think need the money more, they don't seem to be interested. Anyway, that's they scrimmed Cloud9 a couple of days back. OpTic are streaming the practice. We get to see how Huke's getting on. I think Huke and Dashy, as I say, that was where I started this talking point, was that they were the two key players to watch, really, because if they can start firing, if they can start really delivering consistently, then OpTic will be even scarier than they have been for some time. So that was some of the questions that we wanted answered last night. Couple of clips to share, then we'll talk about the results of these scrims.
Wait, did you guys just hear Brandon? Did you guys hear Brandon? I actually heard exactly what he just said right there. He just raged because he said he's still top server. Did you guys hear that? He was talking about Exceed playing top server on P2. That was hilarious. He actually raged. He's still top server.
No, he gets counter-knifed.
Yeah, this is how you can tell Brandon's been going through so many controllers. Do you guys see this? That's his setup right there.
I don't think I can say.
Those are his legs.
Oh, I don't want to say.
Look at his little controller stack here. That's funny.
So OpTic played G2, pretty good scrim partner, and they beat them 6-2, especially again the Scar. Now, we know that OpTic like pulling out plenty of ARs on this map, but it does seem to be working. I mean, Dashy goes 38 in 19 here. They put them in the 100-point club. Estriel's double negative. Huke's very positive as well. So that's just key to keep an eye on really with Dashy and Huke here. They won the Den as well, 250-124, also wasn't close. They won the Colossus, the Kremp losses, 250-172, not especially close. They lost the Exposure, 250-173, good bounce back map here for Mamba, Skies, etc. Then they won the Black Card 250-165. Again, every time they win the Black Card, I just wonder if they're going to play it this weekend. The Overloads, they won 2-1. So thanks to Dead Zone COD as always putting these out there. The Den was 3-2 to the boys on G2. Then it was 7-3 on the Exposure, near enough the Mercy Rule, and 7-5 on the Scar. Very high scoring game for the Scar. Again, it's Overload scrims. It does tend to play a little bit fast and loose. The other scrim they played was against the Ravens, of course a team that online has been pretty scary. And yeah, it was an interesting series. Again, a reasonably competitive one in terms of the overall map results, certainly when we get to the Overloads. In the hardpoint, again, it was comfortable for OpTic 4-1. Again, another 100-point club on the Scar, right? Which is, yeah, pretty impressive for them to just keep up this reign of terror. As I said yesterday, they did lose to Toronto on that map, but apart from that in scrims, they've near enough won the last 20 in a row. The Colossus here was a banger, 250-247. Ravens get the win on this one. Craze has a big map, so does Exceed. So, yeah, the only map that they won in the hardpoints was a really close one, and then it was back to normality on the Exposure, putting them in the 80-point club, and then 250-139 on the Black Cart again. Again, it should be a good map for OpTic, this. So we'll see if they decide to play it. I'm not a big fan of the map, but I just think it's interesting that OpTic haven't played it much. The Den 5-4 to Ravens, a close win, but they do take the win on that one. They won the Exposure as well, and then OpTic won the Scar 6-4 to close out the day. So yeah, good set to scrims from both sides. Obviously, there were tons of entertaining clips coming out. These are the overall season standings. These are on BreakingPoint.gg, the major 2 standings. OpTic are 4-0 so far, undefeated. Thieves are 4-0 so far as well, undefeated. They will play each other tomorrow, very exciting. There's a few other interesting games of the weekend as well. Let's have a look at how it all is going to play out. So these are the games of the weekend again. These are tonight's games. So Ravens play Boston. We get the brand new Boston with Spart. Maybe not brand new, it's a similar roster for sure, but Spart is in instead of Cammy. They play Ravens tonight. Somewhat difficult to call this one, but we'll see. I don't know if that solves Boston's problems. Maybe they get a bit of a honeymoon period, and I think Ravens' allure is like, wow, these guys are unbeatable online. That has now been shattered, so that could be an edge for Boston. Falcons play FaZe. To me, a really interesting series here. I think FaZe will be favourites, of course, but Falcons, they had a good week last time, even though they don't look quite all on the same page all of the time, that Falcons situation. So I think there's still some work for them to do. But also, this is a series that you don't want to get battered, right? Like, look, if you play against FaZe, you lose in 5, okay. But if you get battered by FaZe, that I think is a problem. And they play G2 tomorrow, which is not necessarily an easy game either. So, a big weekend here for Falcons, I think, to show where they really are. Gentlemates play Cloud9. Better, less said about that, the better, really. Some other highlights, Toronto-Miami, that is a highlight for sure. Like, that is the Spanish rivalry continues. Kips is now in, that's pretty interesting. Surge versus Ravens, Battle of the Burgers, to a certain extent. I guess Surge versus Cloud9 really would be the absolute worst of the worst. I don't know, maybe Ravens can keep doing something online. Surge, they did at least win a series recently. OpTic play Thieves. They beat Boston, didn't they, right? OpTic play Thieves. That's a big game tomorrow. On the Sunday, is there anything really of interest Toronto Gentamates is kind of interesting. Yeah, it's not a great Sunday, I'm not gonna lie, to kick off March. So tweet your thoughts in the comments, hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.
What is this?
What's new? Yo, PayPal the tier 1. Appreciate it, my dog. I use a Marius board? No, I like bitches. Just kidding. I have one on the way, though.